Hey everybody, this is Matthew Soltesiak, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast, part of the Minute Media Podcast Network. This season, it's all grit. I speak with a variety of guests and interview key players, gaining more insight on what makes this team go. The Detroit Lions are now in a new, grittier era, and we look beyond just the kneecaps when it comes to the analysis. Welcome to another episode. In this special episode, I speak with the Detroit Lions 2024 Fan of the Year, Megan Stefanski, who is also the NFL 2024 Fan of the Year. We'll hear about her experiences this year and how it all came to be. Plus, I share about my first trip to her family-owned bar and grill called Yooperman's. Let's get to it, Lions fans.
This is Jason Gabenda with the Detroit Lions, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
I previously interviewed Megan a little over a year ago, along with some other Detroit Lions superfans. At that time, we had no idea what the next year would look like for her, the Detroit Lions, and their family bar and grill. Now, a little more background information. Playing a role in Megan's fandom was her dad, Donnie, and the family owned and operated Yooperman's Bar and Grill in the Eastern UP. Started by her dad back in 2011. It's all things Lions. Here's my interview with Megan. Megan, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me again. It's great to be able to connect. Let's start talking about the Detroit Lions Fan of the Year for 2024. How did that come about?
So we played in Minnesota, and I was driving home from the airport, and a friend was like, "Hey, want to get a drink tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Not really. It's a Tuesday. I have to go to school and do all that." And he just kept pushing it for some reason. And I stopped in the morning at Yooperman's, and my mom was like, "Reminder, you have to place the beer order." And I'm like, "I just don't have time." She said, "It'd be better if you could do it tonight," because I don't ever go there at night during the week.
Okay.
So then I'm at school in the library working, and he texted me again. He's like, "Oh, just one reminder about dinner." And I was like, "Okay." So I got there, and he was standing outside acting kind of funny. And anyway, we walked inside, and he held the door open, and all I heard was, "Surprise, you're going to the Super Bowl." And it was the Lions marketing department and Rory and the cheerleaders, and Crackman was there, even though I'd just seen him in Minnesota 2 days prior. So it was a huge surprise. I had no idea. They said because I always come to them, they were going to come to me. And yeah, that was the big surprise.
Well, how does that process even get started? Like, did somebody nominate you, or how did, that probably had to happen months prior?
Yeah. So I think it's maybe July or August. At some point at the beginning of the season, they announced that the contest is open to be the Fan of the Year for each team. And people can nominate you. You can nominate yourself. I don't think it really matters how many people nominate you. I do know of 4 people that nominated me. I don't know which one was the one. And then the Lions, well, every team has people who choose. So at first I was kind of like, well, a lot of people from the team know me, but one of the new interns, Miles, actually chose me, and we had not met at that point. Everybody in the office says they played dumb until he chose me. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they claim. And he chose me based on my charity work mostly, and how far I travel and come to every single game.
Very cool. Well, for someone who doesn't know your story, tell us a little bit. Let's go back. How did your Lions fandom begin?
As a kid, I started going. My family always went to games with my dad. He got season tickets in 1994 for Father's Day. And so I would go to quite a few games every year with him. And then as an adult, it just got as an addiction. And I actually haven't missed a game in the last decade, home game.
That's incredible. And yeah, I can understand how it can become an addiction, because it's quite a fun thing. I mean, as an avid Lions fan myself, I get that. One of the things you mentioned is one of the reasons they picked you is for the charity work you do. Now, you raise money for Hospice of Eastern UP. Tell the listeners a little bit about that organization and how you chose that group.
Yeah, Hospice of the EUP is the only hospice in the entire state of Michigan that's completely free. So whether you're there for 1 day or 100 days or an entire year, it's completely free. When you get there, it's more like a home. So when patients are there, their families can stay there. There's extra rooms. There's a kitchen. They're fed by volunteers. So it requires a lot of money to keep it going. So every year I host a benefit in July where there's a live auction. We do like a pig roast. There's a golf tournament, cornhole tournament. Lots of great stuff. We have the Lions bus up here that we own, me and Crackman. We do stuff the bus for like canned goods and dry goods and things that the house can keep. Yeah, so I've been raising money for hospice for 10 years. It started as my dad's charity.
Okay, well, that was the other thing I was going to ask you about. So it started as your dad's charity, and that's how you kind of continued
Yeah.
or decided on that.
Yeah, yep.
All right, awesome. And then in addition to the fundraiser you do in the summer, you also do tailgates throughout the season, correct?
Yeah, so I've always held a tailgate before every home Lions game. And probably 3 seasons ago, people would say, "Hey, I can't make it in July. Can I just give you some money?" And then they'd be like, "Hey, can I give you a couple bucks for a beer or something like this?" So it just kind of turned into all my products for the tailgating donated, and everybody donates the money for stuff to hospice.
Very cool. Well, let's go back. You got named Lions Fan of the Year, and that happened early in the season. So
It's end of October.
end of October. Okay, so almost midway point almost or
Yep.
whatnot. So what does that entail? What happens once that takes place?
Basically, you're the choice for the season, and you get to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Okay.
Every team does it a little bit different.
Okay. Were there any other events you went to throughout the season or anything or any things that took place?
Not really.
Okay. But they mentioned, obviously the big thing is you're going to get, is it 2 Super Bowl tickets then? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I had two Super Bowl tickets, flights, hotel. So I took Crackman as my guest.
Now, in addition to being a big Lions fan, you are a big football fan. You go to many of the away games, and I believe that means you're also a member of PFUFA. Is that the Pro Football Ultimate Fans Association?
Yep.
Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about that organization? Because I don't think the average fan knows a lot about it.
Yeah, you have to be drafted into the organization, so it's not just something you can choose to join. We choose who we want to draft into the organization, based by team, and it's being a fan of fans and our charity work is a huge part of it.
Very cool. And that's allowed you to connect with other NFL fans around the league. And you actually have fans in a lot of different cities, correct? Or friends who are fans from a lot of other teams.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, once you get nominated and then you win Detroit Lions Fan of the Year, that puts you in the running for the NFL Fan of the Year. And people are voting all season long against representatives from all the other teams, correct?
Yes.
All right. Did you know any of those other fans?
Yes, a few were good friends of mine.
All right. Does that make it a little bit more fun?
Yeah, for me it was fun, knowing I was gonna already know people there, and then I became friends with a lot of them too. So it's like a whole nother group of friends that you make. And yeah, so the voting counted for 10% actually. The NFL and Captain Morgan's had where they decide the winner. Yeah.
Okay. So the voting applies for 10%. That helps impact it. And then the
Mhm.
NFL and Captain Morgan do the rest of it.
Yeah, so there was like different, just as there was to win Lions Fan of the Year, there was different like spirit of character, like what you bring to your game day and how you spice it up. And then your charity work was a lot of it too.
Awesome.
And I'm
Well, that's
the
good.
first female winner ever and the first unanimous winner ever.
Wow. I did not know those facts. First female winner and first unanimous winner. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I don't usually share it.
That's okay. So let me just back up a moment. Once you were named Lions Fan of the Year, did you think there's a chance you might be the NFL Fan of the Year? Was that crossing your mind?
No, I actually found out at the playoff game though that I had won.
Okay.
The Lions surprised me then. The It Takes More bus that was going around.
Yeah.
They wanted me to come take photos in front of it. And then they were like, "Oh, just get on and look." And when I got on, Rory was on there, our mascot, and few people from the NFL and from our team, and that's where the trophy was. And so I actually knew before the NFL honors, but I had to keep it a secret.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a tough secret to keep, probably. But I mean, you were probably like bouncing up and down once you got off that bus.
I was just very shocked.
All right. So then you had to go through the rest of the playoff season, which was a quick exit for the Lions this year. But you couldn't say anything to anybody, and then you found out. I mean, you already knew, but then everybody else found out the NFL honors, correct?
Yeah, so as soon as we got there, my flight had been delayed. I had to go to NFL honors rehearsal before the actual NFL honors.
Okay.
So that was a hard thing to keep, the secret from everybody right before it. I had to be ready. I mean, it was a tight schedule, but it was super exciting. And I broke the news to Crackman about an hour before it that I'd won so that he knew and was prepared. And I had several friends that flew down to surprise me just to celebrate. And yeah, that was a great weekend in New Orleans.
That's great. We had so tell me a little bit about that. The experience of was that your first Super Bowl you've attended?
Yes, yes.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about that experience and being there before the game even.
Right. I mean, anyone who's been to New Orleans, it's such a small, intimate city, and it was perfect for the Super Bowl. Like I said, the first night I got there, we had NFL honors immediately. So just to get there and walk the red carpet and just you're elbow to elbow with all these people. And it's kind of crazy because they came to get me before I could accept my award. So I was in the green room in the back, which is fans aren't back there. Like so I'm just kind of sitting there and Roger Goodell walked by and said, "Hi, I'm Roger." And then someone sat next to me on the couch and I kind of looked over and it was Micah Parsons. And John Hamm walked by and was like, "Love the jacket." And I said, "Thanks, John Hamm," like a big dork. So that was kind of cool. And then you walk outside to go back into your seat. So I just kind of walked by Aiden Hutchison in the alley and was like, "Hey, Aiden." It was just the craziest thing ever that weekend. Like you could stand in the middle of Bourbon Street and a different celebrity would walk by every 5 minutes. And we were looking for a place to eat dinner one night and we're just looking and I'm like, "What about this place? What about this place?" And someone's like, eat here. It's great. And I looked over, it was JMO. And I was like, "Hey," and he's like, "This place is great. Eat here." So we're like, "Okay."
So cool. It sounds like just such an amazing, fun atmosphere. And then again, how cool is it to run into, Lions players there as well, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I sat in the seat behind Jared and Kristen Goff on the way down.
Oh, very cool. So you are the Lion, you are the NFL fan of the year. What goes along with that? Is there anything that takes place with that, or is that just kind of an award and you're at the NFL honors and it goes at that
That's
point?
pretty much it. You win a trophy in the honor of being the NFL fan of the year. Sheila Ford did send me a nice handwritten letter and a signed, authentic Dan Campbell football. That was pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, this is going to show that I did not do my research for this question. So I'm going to ask you, when's the last time a Detroit Lions fan was the NFL fan of the year? Has there been one? Do you know that answer?
There hasn't. The contest has only been going for 5 years. So, yeah.
Okay, so you are the first.
Yep.
Congratulations on that as well.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, let me go back to something we touched on earlier a little bit. Your dad. I saw the Tom Rinaldi piece from 2023 about Thanksgiving, and it was a great piece. And it talked about your dad, Donnie, and how when you guys hit 200 games in a row, I believe he got Super Bowl tickets. Was that correct?
Yes. So his 200th straight game, I did not hit 200 straight. He did. I was a kid for most of that. He was honored by the Lions and given 2 Super Bowl tickets. So he and my mom went. He was the first that I can ever recall a team giving them to a fan. That was the first year they started doing it. And then COVID hit. And it was in 2020 that they decided to start doing that and call it Fan of the Year. And most people didn't even know what it was because it was 2021 for the 2020. And it didn't become real well known until the next year. And now it's getting bigger and bigger, and a lot of people have heard about it.
That makes a lot of sense. Other than that moment there where he got to go to Super Bowl, well, which Super Bowl was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was in Atlanta. It was Patriots and the Rams.
Okay. Awesome. Did he have any other interactions with the team, or was that kind of the big one right there?
I mean, that was the big one, but they've always been good to our family.
Very cool. Well, you're the Lions 2024 fan of the year, the NFL fan of the year. What do you think his reaction would have been, if he had been here to hear that and kind of see you accomplish these things?
I would hope he'd be proud. I mean, it's not like it's anything I ever aspired to. Like I never wanted to just be like well known or anything. It just kind of happened.
Before the season started, obviously not even a thought on your mind. I don't think that this was happening. How are you going to remember this season and all these experiences?
Well, I mean, it was the best season of most all of our lives. 15-2. I'm still saying 15-2, not 3, but 15. I mean, it was an amazing season, and I don't see that stopping us anytime soon. I'm excited about the new coaching staff, the new hires. It's a great time to be a Lions fan.
That it is. What are you looking forward to? Your thoughts as we get starting to look toward 2025. I know it's early in the year yet, but the time's going to go. Things are going to happen. What are you looking forward to?
Just like last year. I mean, we have great players. We have a great staff. Everybody's excited to be there. Once again, like the ratings came out today and all the players gave Coach Campbell a grade A+. I mean, people want to be in Detroit. They want to be there. And it's just such a fun atmosphere and everybody's just so excited. And it's like our window is wide open. So it's going to be a fun couple years coming up.
Yeah, I mean, well, what a turn this has been. Being such a longtime Lions fan, you've seen, some of the ups and lots of the downs, and now we're in a period that we don't even really know what that feels like. And
Right.
so, is there a player or two you're looking forward to seeing what they do most this year?
I'm excited for Aiden's comeback, if that's what you want to call it, I guess. I mean, injuries happen and they're terrible. So I think he would have been defensive player of the year, hands down, had he not gotten hurt. So I'm excited to see him come back and win it this year. So a lot of the injuries, that was our downfall, and that ended up ultimately hurting us. I'm excited to see those guys come back and show everyone what they can do. And hopefully our team stays healthy this year. That's a huge, huge part of it.
Yeah, that would be nice because that obviously was the Achilles thing right there.
But they play so hard that injuries are expected.
So obviously they had the early exit, and obviously that was due to the attrition on defense, and obviously not playing the best game at the most crucial time. But coming off the season where they've never had as many wins, coming off back-to-back division titles, those aren't things that happen all the time. That gives you hope for this year and next year. And let me ask you this. Yeah, any Lions fan who's still down from last year, because it hurt. I mean, it was not a good feeling walking out of Ford Field that night. It was like shell shock. But the future's bright, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was horrible. We had a bad day. And it was horrible. It sucked. It was horrible. But we'll remember that next year. And sometimes like the worst losses make winning so much sweeter. Like this season was the same. Walking out of San Francisco was a horrible, horrible feeling too. But this season kind of made up for it. So, and being a road warrior this season was amazing. Winning every single game on the road. That was pretty fun.
That was pretty incredible. And yeah, I walked out of San Francisco last year bummed out. And you know what though? It didn't lower my expectations for the following season. We almost forgot what it felt like to lose a game this year. It's pretty incredible what was accomplished, especially on top of the circumstances. Even without those circumstances, to win 15 games is incredible. So what would your message be to any Lions fan who's like, that was a rough way to end the season, and maybe they're hesitant about the upcoming year?
I usually ignore those people, to be honest. I just don't deal with the pessimism, dude bro comments. I mean, you've seen my social media. I just ignore. I want to say stuff, but I don't. So I usually just ignore those people.
Yeah, probably for the best. And, it's one of those things where the Lions aren't going to be the trendy pick this year, I don't think, by a number of analysts. And I'm okay with that because we don't need to be the trendy pick.
I don't like being in the spotlight myself, my team. I prefer to just be undercover. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
Awesome. Again, Megan, you talked about your charity work was a big deal and is a big deal for you for Hospice of the EUP. Please remind the listeners if they can't come to your summer event and if they don't happen to find your tailgates, is there another way they can help contribute to the great cause you're behind?
Yeah, they can donate directly to Hospice of the EUP. They have a Facebook page, a website. They have their own Venmo. You can mail checks to them. They love donations. Or if you're available, July 12th this year will be the annual Yooperman's Hospice of the EUP benefit. It'll be held at the Raber Township Hall. So Saturday, July 12th.
Saturday, July 12th. All right. So get that on your calendar, folks. Megan, anything else you'd like to share about your experience, about this season, about anything that's been memorable before we wrap things up?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Thanks so much for taking thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me about all that.
No problem.
Folks, when I interviewed Megan for this piece, she let me know the restaurant was in the process of being sold, and while it will continue to operate, it won't be called Yooperman's anymore, nor will it have all the Detroit Lions memorabilia that is there today. So being a Lions fan, a journalist, and appreciating Michigan history in general, a couple weekends ago, I finally made my way up to Yooperman's Bar and Grill for a visit. The whole family went. Very, very happy we did. And let me tell you about my meal. I did not have any preconceived notions or expectations ahead of time, but I ordered the Yooperman. I love me a mushroom Swiss burger and figured the namesake burger has got to be worth a try. And it did not disappoint. In fact, the entire family ordered burgers and we left very satisfied with our meals. In addition to that, of course, we got to enjoy the atmosphere, and that's what brought us there in the first place, right? There's a ton of family and Detroit Lions memorabilia throughout the entire place, even a barrage of ticket stubs along a beam near the bar. We even left with a couple of koozies to have as keepsakes. Now, the entire family enjoyed the restaurant and the nearly 3-hour trek. We even got to see the Straits of Mackinac frozen over and walked out on the shoreline of Mackinac City. A big congratulations to Megan Stefanski for winning Detroit Lions and NFL Fan of the Year for 2024. And an even bigger thank you for taking the time to share so much of her story with us. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Please tell your friends and family about the show. You can find us on social media sites like Instagram and on Twitter at NTSOL Podcast, as well as all other major streaming platforms, including YouTube. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reviews. Check out more episodes and content at notthesameoldlions.com. And until next time, stay gritty, my friends.